Hello everybody, Ryan here from Guitar Teacher Tools, and today we're talking about double stops. Double stops on guitar where we play two notes at the same time. And we can identify them because we'll see two notes, but we know that they are played at the same time is because they are stacked on top of each other, or they line up exactly and they share the same stem. That means they need to be played together versus something like this. Obviously they're spaced apart, we would not play those together. So double stops are two notes together at the same time, and this is a great way to kind of start making your guitar sound like more than one. Make it sound like you're actually playing a duet on a single instrument. Okay, now let's discuss the first type of double stop. There's going to be three in total. The first kind is kind of the easiest to play because it doesn't require the left hand at all. That's where we play two open strings. And double stops will always be on adjacent strings, even though it doesn't look like it on the staff. For example, this is the first and the second string open. So when we see these, we don't need any left hand. We can just play the first and second string open together, and we are done with that. The next possibility would be the second string open and the third string open. Third string open, fourth string open, 4 open, 5 open, and it is possible to play 5 open and 6th open. So for playing open strings, there's all the combinations that you have. And eventually you get to the point where you see kind of double stops and they kind of get to the point where you can play them like you do single notes. You see the same pairs over and over and over again. So we don't need any left hand for any of this. This would be all open strings and their various combinations. Okay, the second type of double stop is where we need one open and one finger. So we have the first string open and the second string first fret. So we would require one finger for the left hand to play this and playing another string as open. And in this case, we just have to take extra care with our first finger that it does not lay over the first string open so that both notes can be heard. Kind of like playing a miniature chord. In this case, it's kind of like a C chord with just the first finger. Okay, here's a couple of other examples where we might only need one finger and an open. Here's first string first fret with 2 open. Maybe second string third fret and 3rd open. And again, these are double stops. Even though they are spaced apart on the staff, they're still on adjacent strings. Let's see, we could play possibly 3 open and 4 2. There's a lot more combinations with these. I'm not going to go through every single one, but this is the next easiest one to play with one finger and one open. And finally, the last style would be both notes require a finger to play. So for example, 1 1 and 1 3. For the most part, when you're playing this type of double stop, you can play it and use the normal fingers you would use. In this case, you can use the first finger on the top note and the third finger on the bottom note. Okay, let's take a look at a couple more. Again, there's going to be a whole bunch of these. Let's just look at a couple more examples. So there would be 2 1 and see if I can get it. 3 2. There we go. Okay, kind of like a mini A minor chord almost. But again, I can play both of those with the normal fingers that I would normally do. Now sometimes when we get into this, we'll have to adjust our fingers a little bit. For example, I usually start at the top. You can start at the bottom. It doesn't really matter. You're going to end up in the same spot. But depending on where you start, I would probably play, at first glance, I would play that with 3 2 with the second finger. However, that makes it a little harder to play this one on the second fret as well. So since those are both in the second fret, I'd probably learn really quickly that I'd probably move my second finger to here and put the third finger underneath that. Once again, kind of like A minor without the first finger. So these do take sometimes a little bit of practice identifying the two notes that I need. Are they both in the same fret? Do I need to adjust my fingers? But like I mentioned earlier, once you get used to this, you really start seeing the pairs as almost a single identity, and you get to the point where you can play these very quickly. Let's take a look at another one. So this would be 4 2 and 5 3. Again, a partial C chord without the first finger. And then once I start doing that, I really find that my double stop playing gets much quicker from there. Okay, one thing we need to talk about to finish up here with double stops is sometimes we have a special case where both notes would normally be played on the same string. For example, this would be 2-3 and this would be 2 open. So at first glance it looks like that's going to be impossible to play. It's not. We can fix that really easily, and I won't cover every example of how this happens now, but in general terms, we play the top note where we normally would. So in this case, we're going to play the top note as 2-3 still, and the finger might vary what we're doing. I might use, in this case, I might use the first finger, because what we're going to do is push the bottom note to the next string underneath, in this case, the 3rd string. So we're going to move this to the 3rd string, 4th fret. And there's a version of that B note on the 3rd string, 4th fret, and that way that allows us to play those 2 notes even though it looks on the surface that they would be played on the same string. So I might play this one with the first finger, and because it's in the next fret over, use the 2nd finger. I could use 2 and 3, different fingers. I'll let you worry about how you might do it from there. Okay, another one that might happen is this combo, 1-3 and 1 open. Same rules. I'm going to keep this one on 1-3, but I'm probably going to play this one with the first finger because I need to move this one again 1 string lower to the 2nd string, and this in this case is on the 2nd string, 5th fret. So I'm going to need to use 1 and 3 to probably play these 2 notes there. But it's the same concept. Keep the top note where it is, move the bottom note to the next string down, and it's going to be 1 to 2 frets away. It's not going to be like, again, this is the 3rd fret. This is not going to be like the 7th or 8th fret. You still have to reach it within a reasonable amount of space on your guitar. It's generally 1 fret. So if this is the 3rd fret, this is generally, like this one was the 3rd fret, this is the 4th fret. It's generally 1, or in this case, 2 frets higher, 3rd fret up to the 5th fret. So that's how you can handle cases of where both notes are on the same string. All right, let's discuss how to play double stops with the pick first, and then we'll discuss the fingers next. So with the pick, we do not have to try and combine the thumb or the pick, in this case, holding with the thumb. First finger, there's no reason for that. Most people agree. We can just push the pick through both strings. If we do it quick enough, that's technically, for all intents and purposes, being played at the same time. We're trying not to stagger them. Just push through both of those. Starting with the bottom string first, just doing a nice even down motion. Now, even with 8th notes, we want to do a down motion. We're just going to play them faster. The reason for this is because with the pick, it actually swaps and it doesn't sound clean. We're going to channel our inner James Hetfield, do our down picking on this one. So if you're used to alternate picking, this is one area where we actually do not want to do that. We just want to do the down motion. And I'm playing this without the left hand at all. These are all open. It doesn't matter to the right hand whether both our notes are open of my left hand, 1 finger or 2 fingers. It's the same motion. So this is a great way to practice and focus on the right hand so that when we aren't playing music, we can focus on the left hand and it's a little bit better for us. Now, for the first 2 strings, it's pretty easy, but notice that I'm not doing an extra motion here. I'm keeping it pretty close, just past that first string. The reason is when I get into the other strings, I want to mimic that motion. And one thing that I like to do is a rest stroke with this, meaning I play the strings 2 and 3, and I rest my pick on the first string. It's called a rest stroke. And again, I can just watch my right hand and play this a bunch of times. I can move it to 3 and 4, rest on the 2nd string. Okay, double stops don't get a lot of times this low, but I could for practice and so forth. So when we play with the pick, just push down nice and gentle, not overdoing it. Because the nice thing about also the rest stroke is it ensures that I get both notes played. A lot of times it's easy just to do this, and you don't get really the effective of both notes being played. If I kind of be quiet, here's kind of without the rest stroke. It's kind of iffy with the rest stroke. Now it is a little dangerous because I might accidentally hit that string, okay? But I've gotten kind of used to it. You can put quite a bit of pressure before that actually will make a sound. That's how you play double stops with the pick. All right, let's play with our fingers. Now I do have fingernails for my right hand. Those of you that play with that, you know it's not required, but it's something I just can't do anymore without. But I do kind of do the classical method with this, meaning that we're going to play I and M, or the index and middle finger, on the first two strings, and I kind of just, as if I'm gripping them underneath, and I put usually the thumb on the sixth string for support. Again, we usually don't do this in classical or pick style. The thumb and the first finger just kind of get in the way of each other. This works perfectly fine. So I just kind of put those in at a 45-degree angle, and I almost more or less brush my fingers across brush the tips across the strings. I'm trying not to dig it in, and do this. Again, this is very classical oriented, but this works for anything that, even if it's not classical. The nice thing about this is it's a little bit more confident, where you can have a lot more confidence playing those strings because you actually feel them, and it's a lot harder to play the extra strings. Now, obviously, I might miss the strings that I want, and so I can just keep practicing these over and over. And again, I can combine exercises or patterns, play each one 4 times, do all sorts of different things with that. But again, I'm focusing on the right hand so that when I get to my music, it's much easier to play from there. And that's how we do double stops. I hope this video has helped you, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.